Robert, if you had a child today, would you give them any vaccines for their whole
You
life?
know what? I I wouldn't give them vaccines that are on the current schedule because I would only give them a vaccine that had been tested against a placebo. So my measure, and this is what I've said to people. I've said people have begged me to get out of this, this area of advocacy, and I said I will do that if you can show me a study that shows that vaccinated children are are healthier than unvaccinated children. And I don't believe you can do that study. The study has never, the CDC has never attempted it, but we've looked through the scientific literature. There are thousands of studies on vaccine safety in the published peer-reviewed science. Anybody can look at them at PubMed. Some of them are hard to read, and you really need to read them critically, which is you kind of need help, But I've published 60 of those studies on my Instagram. And I put a blue and red logo so that you can find them easily on the front page. And then we use the same format for each one where we compare the unvaccinated kids who are blue to the vaccinated kids that are red. And in every study that's ever done, of those 60 studies where they've done that, the vaccinated kids are always unhealthier. They all have chronic diseases. They're shorter lived. There's more hospital visits. There's more diabetes. There's more head colds. The rhinitis, the allergic rhinitis, is 30 times in vaccinated kids what it is in unvaccinated kids. The asthma, the arthritis, so all of these different studies, every one that we've been able to find shows that vaccinated kids are much, much healthier, much more resilient, much fewer earaches, everything. Fewer ER visits, fewer doctor's visits. And what I've said is, to people who criticize me, I say, show me a study that shows that vaccinated kids are healthier. That should be very easy to do. If everything we've been told about vaccines is true, that should be a study that people would want to do. Why aren't we doing it? It's very easy to do. Study the Amish. There are, we have a vaccine safety data link. CDC has under its control is the medical records and vaccination records of 10 million people. And it's very easy to go in there and do those studies, retrospective studies, because many of those people were not vaccinated. And CDC can do that in a second. The problem is CDC tried to do it. They brought in a Belgian researcher named Thomas Verstraeten, and they did a study of the vaccine safety data link. And they looked at kids the simple study they did, they looked at children who got the hepatitis B vaccine in the first 30 days of life, and they compared them to kids who did not. And the hepatitis B vaccine at that time contained a lot of mercury. And what they found was that the kids who were vaccinated in the first 30 days had 1,135% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis 5 years later than the kids who did not. And when they read that, they had an emergency meeting with a secret meeting with 60 or 52 people in the Simpsonwood Retreat Center, Chattahoochee River, in a remote, wooded area in Norcross, Georgia. They brought all the vaccine regulators there, all the big academics in vaccines, and they brought all the companies that make vaccines. At a 2-day secret meeting, which they revealed this data, and somebody made a transcript of that meeting, and it's one of the most horrendous things that I've ever read in my life, because you have these public health regulators and pharmaceutical company officials conspiring openly together to hide these effects from the American people. And immediately after that, CDC took that vaccine safety data link, which is the database. Congress ordered them to keep those records so that they could study vaccine safety, and they put it in a lockbox. They gave it to a private corporation so that there's no access by the Freedom of Information laws. They've successfully kept scientists out of that database now for almost 20 years.